Okay, now we're recording. But before we begin, I'm going to just invite Commissioner Hurlburt. Thank you for joining us. If you would like to say a few words before we kick this off.
Just thank you, Jeff and Yukon Extension, for putting this together and recognizing the need to get more and good information out there. I know there's a lot of questions and unfortunately, we haven't had a lot of answers yet, just as this has been moving so quickly. So this is a great opportunity. I'm glad it's being recorded. We can share it through our channels as well to make sure that folks know what they need to do and how to access these very important programs. EIDL wasn't even made available to farm operations until the second round or the fourth round, I guess you could call it, of the COVID response bills. And so this is, a great opportunity to get in there in PPP. I think given the changes to the small and mid-size asset caps, really makes it available for our smaller and more local banks that may not have had the opportunity to get an application up and running in the short time frame the last cycle. So excited to be here and learn more. And if people have questions afterwards, happy to help facilitate answers to them to the best of our ability as well. So thank you all. And thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Mariama, for joining us this evening.
And so to that point about questions, you can type in questions in the chat button. We will try to keep track of those, although we're going to let Mariama do her presentation first. So, and again, Mariama is from SBA, and I'm going to let you get started so you can get through your PowerPoint and get to the questions.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Thank you, everyone, for jumping on. I can't see it yet, Jeff.
Okay, let me get it for you.
Okay. Jeff and I are working as a team, everyone, so just a little patience.
Okay. Can you
Put
see
in
it?
a little graphics there for you. Okay, that's our nice big new logo. Again, we like to emphasize to everyone, we're all in this together, right? Because we are all in, in COVID, and we've been in COVID for, I want to say, a little bit now. And so, it's affecting everyone, in one way or the other, whether you're a small business owner or not, even though SBA is focused on entrepreneurship, but nevertheless, this affects, it's affecting families, it's affecting every single industry, that we, live and breathe, whether it's education, health. So that's why we like to say, we're all in this together, and our administrator reminds us of that every single day. So, next.
Oh, you know what? I was at the end of your slideshow.
Okay.
wait, let me just back it up to the beginning.
Okay.
Because we were looking at it before. Okay.
Wasn't that a great presentation, folks?
All right, and here we go.
No.
Back to your slideshow.
Okay.
Okay.
Just hit slideshow. There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Again, the mission, we like to always start with the mission of the SBA, making your American dream a reality. And we have several resources in place to help folks get there, whether it's access to capital, whether it's small business counseling, whether it's government contracting. So we have several different, I would say, products that we offer to help folks, secure that dream of entrepreneurship. Next. Next. Okay. So I went a little bit on your website just to see what was, what was available to farmers. And so it looks like the USDA, and these may be programs that the majority of you on this webinar today may be familiar with, but if not, definitely, I actually learned a lot by going on it. I went on, the USDA Assistance for Farmers, And so there's definitely a lot of assistance that is, you know, completely different and separate from what SBA is offering. So the, you know, so my point of putting this slide up is just letting you know that, you know, if one program may not be suitable for you, there's always another one. So because you're in a very unique industry, that of farming, and it's because it's a seasonal, I would say, type of industry as well, it's really good for you to explore every single option available to you. Next. So again, with the Farm Service Agency, I learned a lot about the Farm Service Agency today. I learned about NRCS, the National Resources Conservation Service. So for those of you that are not yet too familiar with them, definitely take a look at it. And I was even more impressed with how much resources they had available in Connecticut and in just about every single one of our 8 counties. I think I lost you. Let's see.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay, I could see this. I don't know, somehow it left. Okay, so what we want to talk about today is our economic injury disaster loan, and this is what we call EIDL. And again, with the government, everything is an acronym. So when I refer to this throughout the presentation, it'll be as EIDL. So, you know, what is an EIDL? It's a working capital loan, and this disaster loan was not only created for COVID. EIDL has been in place, you know, for a long time, and this is usually what our small business owners use, and not just small business owners, but homeowners and renters when we have natural disasters such as Hurricane Harvey, Irma, Sandy, whatever the case is. So these are working capital loans, and these specifically are for small businesses, small agricultural cooperatives, and small aquaculture businesses, which is a really new booming business. And it was now made, one of the things that's very new is that it was made eligible for not-for-profit organizations and faith-based organizations. And this is like within the last 30 days, because originally it was just for-profit. Next. Okay, so an EIDL loan, you know, how much can you borrow? Well, an eligible entity can borrow up to $2 million, which is really, really good. The interest rate is 3.75 for small businesses, 2.75 for not-for-profit businesses. The loan is a 30-year term, and there's no penalty for prepayment. So this is basically like taking out a mortgage on your home. Next. The proceeds, the use of the proceeds, again, working capital, fixed debts, payroll, accounts payable, and any other bills that could have been paid but had not been paid had the disaster not occurred. With these loans, had it been like a natural disaster such as a hurricane or something, those are loans that are usually, you know, measured, you know, by an assessor that would come out, you know, to evaluate the damage. But this is kind of one of those what they're calling invisible disasters, right? So there's no way of measuring it by, you know, by saying, okay, there's X amount of trees, you know, that took down, you know, you lost your power. So, so yeah, so this is a little bit different in how they're measuring it. So they're quicker to process because of that. And so again, these loans are not intended to replace lost sales or profits or for expansion. For example, if that was something that you were thinking of doing later in the year, the proceeds of the loan is just to get you through, you know, the difficult time, which is now. Next. Okay, so applicants so what is an EIDL advance? So an EIDL advance is what they call a request to be considered of an advance for up to $10,000. In the beginning, how this was being marketed, which really confused a lot of people, was a lot of folks thought that you would apply for the EIDL advance and that you would get automatically $10,000. What we then found out was that no, it's $1,000 per employee. So if you only have one employee, which is yourself, then you're only going to get 1,000. But if you have, you know, even if you have 20 employees, the maximum of this advance is 10,000. So, so how do you request the EIDL advance? So you must request the funds by submitting a new streamlined application. So again, if you have already submitted an SBA disaster loan, if let's say you were part of the first round, once this opened up in late March, if you were part of the first round, that advance was not an option. That came later. The portal was kind of like taken down. It was revamped, the whole application. So that was something that came in later, and I'll show you on the application later where you can check off for that advance. So who is eligible? Any entity that is eligible to apply for COVID. How can I believe I already said how you could use the EIDL advance, again, to pay anything that's business-based, right? Fixed debts, payroll accounts, payables, and other bills that have not been paid. Okay, so there's no requirement to pay that advance, just so you know. So how are EIDL loans different from working capital loans or other SBA loans? Again, you don't have to go normally for a regular like SBA, what we call a 7A loan, a 504 commercial loan, or an SBA Express. Those are done directly with the banks. This one is being done directly through our SBA Disaster Assistance Program portal. So all you would have to do is click on that link and apply. Once, let's say you put in an application and it takes, you know, I don't know, 4 weeks, for example, for them to get back to you to let you know what what you've been approved for. If at that time you say, you know, you don't want it because you've maybe found another option through, you know, a USDA program or maybe through PPP, you can say, no, I'm not interested. Thank you very much. And there's no problem, no pre-penalty. No one is going to come after you. For loans over $25,000, they require collateral. Usually it's not real estate, but they just, I mean, how they're going to determine the amount of the loan is going to be based on your, you know, on your tax return or P&L statement or any type of receivables that you can show, you know, that you have a profitable business. Because remember, the money that you're going to use to pay back the note, this bank note, is going to be from the proceeds of your business. For loans greater than $200,000, that's where a personal guarantee may be required. And let's say you were a victim of, you know, Superstorm Sandy. Let's say you had some damages done to your beach home and you have an existing disaster loan, you can still qualify for an EIDL loan. They won't consolidate the loans. You'll have 2 separate loans, but that doesn't mean that you still can't qualify for an EIDL loan. And you would not believe the amount of folks that do have outstanding disaster loans. So next. You know, again, we talked a little bit about the ineligible. Oh, we talked about eligible, but ineligible. So what they used to call something that's, you know, what they're calling now is what's ineligible is businesses whose purpose is for gambling, like casinos, businesses that derive 1/3 of their annual gross revenue from legal gambling activities, illegal activities on the federal level. For example, marijuana is still something that hasn't been approved by the state. So that's nothing that they are, you know, that they're willing to fund yet. So
Mariah,
yeah,
the first bullet, this is an old slide, right? Because the first
it's
bullet.
an old slide.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll show you where the language for the new slide is.
Okay. All right.
Okay. How to apply? There is the website. You know, very easy. Just click on it. We have that 1-800 number if you have any questions. Again, that's the only number that we're giving folks. That actually we even have to call the SBA Customer Service Center to find out any status of your loan, to find out if you have any questions regarding it. And any inquiry, let's say you get, you know, you fill out your application and you're assigned a loan number and then you don't hear back in a couple weeks, you know, you can definitely take that, you know, that loan number and send an email to, you know, to that address. And some folks still like to, you know, if some people don't like to do things online, right? So they want to, you know, if they're asked for any, you know, personal information, they want to mail their documents by all means. As you can see, our processing center is in Fort Worth, Texas. Next. So these are what we call our Sba Resource Partners. So these are resource partners that the SBA funds. We partially fund our small business development centers, our SCORE, our women business centers, and our veteran business outreach centers. And these are all organizations that we have locally that can help you. If you're not sure about, you know, filling out the application, if you have any questions, even on, you know, it's kind of like, okay, I filled it out, I sent it, but I need to now think about, you know, once I get this loan, you know, how I restructure my business. These are all free business advisors that can help you get through that. And I have their email information there because, of course, now we're doing everything virtually. But that's the easiest way to go on their website and apply, either call or fill out like an intake form to set up an appointment and have a virtual meeting with a business advisor. Again, it's completely free of charge. Next. So I just wanted to give you some numbers in Connecticut on our EIDL loans and where we are. We're given these stats every Friday afternoon. So in Connecticut, we had 947 loans totaling, you know, almost $200 million. And in EIDL advances, that $10,000 that I talked about earlier, we've given out already 14,181 loans totaling, you know, 57,459,000. So, you know, you hear a lot about, oh, you know, I applied, I didn't get my money, this and that, but guess what? There's a lot of small businesses out there that have gotten their money. So we have proof. Next. So this is when you go into the portal to apply for the EIDL, this is once you click on that link, this is what it's going to look like. They completely changed it up from what it was when it first started. They streamlined the application process where in the past you would have to upload documents to the Dropbox. You don't upload anything anymore. After you submit it, they will then contact you, you know, through email and tell you, okay, you know, we need this, we need that, and that's how you will, you know, that's how they'll get the remaining information or documents that they may need to be able to go forward with the application. So that's what page 1 looks like. Next. And I apologize because, again, these are screenshots because it's not, I don't have a hard copy application. So we tried to do screenshots, so it's a little bit small, but you'll get a copy of this. So you'll see it. You know, you choose one. You know, you're an applicant with is a business with not more than 500 employees, and you want to make sure that you check that because, again, these loans are for businesses with 500 and less. And okay, so then your disclosures, we want to make sure that you're not engaged in any illegal activity, that you're, let me see, no principal of the applicant with a 50% or greater ownership interest is more than 60 days delinquent on child support. So this is where it can get a little dicey because if there is outstanding child support, if there is outstanding, let's say you haven't paid your taxes in a few years, you know, and you're not on any type of program with the IRS to be able to, you know, to make those payments to catch up. This is where, you know, it gets a little dicey because anytime you're doing business with the federal government, you know, we want to make sure that you're in good standing. So again, applicant is not in the business of lobbying. You know, if you're good and you can check off all those boxes, then you can continue on to the next page. So just information on your business legal name, your trade name. You know, some folks, you know, have one name and then they do business as another, right? Your EIN number, if you're a sole proprietor, you know, what type of company are you? Are you an LLC? You know, are you, I'm sorry, I can't think of it. Are you an LLC? Are you a INC? Are you a C Corp? Whatever the case may be. And then that's where it asks you, is the applicant a not-for-profit organization? Okay. So is the applicant a franchise? Is that top question that you could barely see? Gross revenues, you know, for the 12 months prior, cost of goods sold, rental properties, you know, lost rents due to the disaster. One second. Okay. Combined annual operating expenses for the 12 months prior to the date of the disaster. And, you know, list social services provided by, if it's a faith-based entity, which does not apply today. So the questions are pretty basic, and you should have the answers to these. You know, the ones on the top with gross revenues and cost of goods, you know, you can definitely either you call your accountant, take a look at your P&L statement, or maybe just take a look at your taxes. Next. Provide brief description of other compensation sources. If that's the only compensation source that you have, your business, then, you know, that's it. Primary business address, business information, very basic. Next. So again, these are applications that you can do on your own, as long as you have, you know, the numbers of gross revenues. As long as you have those numbers, you don't have to pay anyone or go anywhere special to have somebody help you fill these out. This is something you can definitely do on your own. Next, please.
Echo. There we go.
Okay, business email, yeah, very basic with business email, the date of the business established, current ownership since. It's got to be, there's a specific date, it's got to be a business that's been owned and operated since, I believe, the business has to have been in operation since January 31st, 2020. So even, you know, let's say you just opened again in January and all of a sudden this happened, those eligible for an EIDL have to have been in operation since January 31st, when the public health crisis was announced, okay? And we have had those cases where folks have called us and said, you know, I just started my business, you know, I haven't even been in business 1 quarter, and, you know, am I eligible for anything? Because, you know, if you think about it, the investment in maybe inventory, supplies, and everything has already been made. Okay, so these are just, you know, basic questions. Ownership, business activity, that's, you know, you can definitely, that's where you would do a drop down to just make sure that you get the right business activity. If you see it all the way on the far right, you know, it'll tell you what type of industry you're in. And, you know, there's a sub, like details business activity. And number of employees as of January 31st. Next.
Marima, just before we go
Yep.
forward, I just want to double check back a couple slides here. There was the
Sure.
check marks.
Yep.
That third box is going to disappear, right?
Applicant is not, yes, it is.
Okay.
It's going to disappear.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
You want me to read it, or do folks?
No, we'll just keep
yeah.
going. I thought
Yeah.
somebody was concerned about that.
Again, they've been adjusting it as they go, because remember, they also were not accepting not-for-profits or faith-based institutions. So it's
Right.
all been an adjustment.
Okay. All right. Next section.
Okay. Business owner's information. Is your business owned by a business entity? No. Okay, keep going. Next. Again, owner information, I think we might have said that. Again, if you have more than one owner, again, if you have to be 20% or over, if there's more than one owner, you know, if someone is over, if you're 80 and somebody else is 20, at least 20, you have to put them both, you know, you have to put both owners on here. So, but if it's just you, then that's fine. It's going to ask you for your ownership percent. And where you see the little red stars, just, you know, you're not going to be able to proceed to the next page if you don't fill those out. Next.
Somebody's washing dishes. If you could mute, please.
It's not me. Okay, place of birth, make sure that, you know, if you're a U.S. citizen, residential address, and, you know, that's where if you have an additional owner, if you were, let's say 50% and you have a partner, that's where you would add them. And next. Oh my goodness, I cannot barely read these, but it's something about in the past year, has a business owner been convicted? You know, so all these, again, if they're no, then that means you're a good standing citizen. If they're no, you can proceed.
Mhm.
And has anyone assisted you in completing this application? Whether you pay fees for the service, that person must enter their information. Again, it all depends, because we have some, you know, you have folks that are handicapped, right? And that, and they, if they don't have the help, then they do have to have somebody help them fill out the application. Okay, so here we are on the bottom. That little checkbox, again, that is new. I would like to be considered for an advance for up to 10,000. You know, so again, if you have 10 employees, you'll get 10,000. It's 1,000 per employee. If it's only one person, you'll get 1,000, 2,000. Even if you have 30 employees, you're still only going to get 10. It's only in advance of 10,000. Okay, next. Where to send funds. So this is really important that you get your bank name, your account number, and your routing number, because that's where the funds are going to be deposited to. No one's getting a hard check in the mail. So you want to make sure you have that in there. And then on the bottom, you have to check off, you certify that everything that you checked off on this application is accurate. And you hit next. And then it's going to be a summary. You know, if there's anything there, you know, once you scroll down, if you see that you may have typed in something wrong, that's your last opportunity to make an edit. Next. Again, on the bottom, just make sure that, you know, you click that. Now that's a very important security filter where it says, I'm not a robot. And then you just click submit. Isn't that easy?
Oh.
For government? For government, okay?
So Marima,
Okay.
let me press pause. I'm going to stop sharing for a
Sure.
second here. I just want to check on a lot of these chats here. And Mackenzie, maybe you could unmute yourself also and help me catch up. There were a bunch of questions.
Yeah, so the first, can you hear me, Jeff?
Yep.
Okay. So the first one that I saw was, I tried to submit a PPP application today, but the banks have already stopped taking new applications, and the idle applications have also not been opened. Do you have any information on this?
Okay, yeah, I wasn't going to talk about PPP yet, but I'll talk about it. That's fine. We're going to get there in a minute though. But so I'm not sure who your bank was, right? And some banks are inundated and overwhelmed. So if they already have a high volume of applications sitting, let's say, on their desk that they haven't been able to process, that's definitely not where you want to have your application. You want to be able to, you know, have your application at, you know, in a lender that can, you know, grab it and process it as efficient as possible. Because again, this is round 2, and already the floodgates opened yesterday at 10:30 in the morning, and I'll show you at the end of the PowerPoint where we are with money. And so, so there are other options with the PPP, and I'll show you that in the next couple slides on other places that you can go. And I know that, you know, folks tend to go to, you know, the bank where they do business, and that's what we were telling people in the beginning. But some banks have different policies, right? Some banks were saying, well, if you don't have a commercial account with us, if all you have is a savings or a checking and not a commercial account or a line of credit, then we're not going to work with you. others, and
Right.
others were just saying, no, we're not doing this.
You
But now,
froze.
we have a list of who's doing it, and there's other methods as well. You can go to a fintech, and I'll have a list of fintechs, or you can go to another community-based lender. Community-based lenders are knocking it out of the park, believe it or not, because they're saying, hey, you know what? You're not an existing customer, but we're willing, to make you a new customer, right? And so, how we work as, I would say in our state and as small business owners, we work on a loyalty program. If you help me now, I will definitely, you better be sure that I'm going to come back for continued business. So that's something that community, smaller banks are looking at right now, where they're really knocking it out of the park with making those loans.
Hey, let's go back
And
to
I'm sorry, you had a question on the EIDL. Yes, the EIDL portal is closed for
Right.
now, and that's because of the high volume of applications that are still being worked on and still being processed. We don't have any inkling. What I'm gathering is that it wouldn't be closed for more than a week. So I'm hoping that by Friday it'll open up again. But again, we will make that announcement. For example, we found out Friday afternoon, like around 4:30, that PPP was going to open up Monday at 10:30. So we could have that same type of pattern for the EIDL, but we're not sure. But in the meantime, what they're just trying to do is just trying to process the volume, the massive volume that they have, that's sitting there.
Okay. Also
Okay.
on EIDL, and so that's why we can't actually walk through an application at the moment because it's not open. Another question about EIDL, this is important clarification, Marima, about do you have to pay the $10,000 back, the advance?
No, you do not. That's part of the loan forgiveness.
Okay. And if you have over 10 employees seasonally, are you eligible for the $10,000 advance?
So yes. So one of the things that they were doing is that they're using different criteria because they understand that there are seasonal businesses. So as long as they are employees and you have them on payroll and you can justify that, then you can justify them as, as employees.
Okay. And somebody asked, and I asked you this earlier too, do you think it's going to be worth it to apply for EIDL since they're working through a backlog already? Do you still feel like there's going to be money left and they're going to open up the portal hopefully Friday and it'll be worth trying?
So I know. So everybody, honestly, every single business owner on this call is in a different place in their business and, in their financial outlook. So it really depends on what you need the proceeds for, because as you can see, when I go forward with the PPP is very structured in terms of what the use of the proceeds are, right? So if 75% of the loan is used for payroll and you only have, yourself, you're the only one that takes the draw from the business, then the other 25% of the loan is, has to be used for either, rent, lease, mortgage, or utilities. And although the interest rate is only 1%, which is was amazing. I mean, where else can you get a loan for 1%? You might not be eligible for as much. However, with the EIDL, I don't want to say the sky's the limit, but it's broader in terms of what the use of the proceeds can be used for. The term of the loan is 30 years, although you have a 3.75, interest rate. But again, so that's why I don't want to say do this one over that one, because everyone is in a different boat, as they say. So that's where, if I backtrack to one of our small business counselors, that's where it would be a really good idea. If you're just kind of like all over the place and, not really sure, if you should apply for EIDL once it opens up, definitely give one of our resource partners a call, and they'll hash it out with you.
So let me go back and let you finish your presentation.
Okay.
So we were here. Hopefully you can see that now on PPP.
Yes, I can. Okay, so the Paycheck Protection Program, a little bit different, right? Because this loan is being offered through participating lenders. So although you can go on our website and take a look at what the application looks like, you can't submit it electronically. And also a lot of some lending institutions have their own application, very, very similar, but nevertheless, you can't submit it electronically. It has to be, you know, kind of like a hard copy, sort of like a, I don't want to say a hard copy application, but it has to be done through a lending institution. So if you need a lender, if you can't use yours for whatever reason, or you just really don't have a commercial account, if you go into that website and you type in your zip code, it'll tell you the participating lenders in your area. And so again, it's designed to keep folks on payroll, right? And the funds are used for up to 8 weeks of payroll costs, including benefits, and the funds can also be used. That's 75% of the loan. So let's say, your loan is, is $20,000. So, 15 of that, it goes to payroll, let's say, 15,000. And then the other 5,000 would be used. And that's where, again, everybody's in a different boat. The other would be used to pay interest on mortgages, rent, and utilities. And so, again, this slide is a little bit old, but when the PPP started, it started on April 3rd. And so it was just for, small business owners and, traditional LLCs. And so one of the things that they did was, the following week, they opened it up to independent contractors and what they call 1099. So, okay. Next, please.
Stuck. Okay.
Okay. So this I was able to take out of our standards of practice today, so now, because again, they changed the language. So this is great. This is the exact, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to, make a screenshot of it because this is brand spanking new. April 23rd, it was published. Are agriculture producers, farmers, and ranchers eligible for PPP loans? And the answer is yes, as long as you have 500 or fewer employees. And if the business fits within the revenue-based size standards, which is an average annual receipts of $1 million. Okay. Next. And so then there's alternative size standards, but that's something that, you can work out with the lender, maximum net worth if the business is not more than 15 million. And this is where, it's the whole small business gets a little fuzzy, right? Because then you hear about, Ruth Chris Steakhouse, getting a loan. And, again, it's the size standards and they fit the size standards and perhaps they have less than 500 employees and, who would know that, right? So, yeah, so we want to make sure that, that you are eligible, letting you know, our agriculture and other forms of cooperatives eligible to receive PPP loans as long as other PPP eligibility requirements are met. Small agricultural cooperatives and other cooperatives may receive PPP loans. So that is legitimate language. Next. The terms, you can go up to 10 million, right? Depending on the size, the size of your, of your farm, of your business. The interest rate is 1%. And again, I'm going to backpedal and say that when this was first launched, the interest rate was 0.5%. So then they raised it to 1. So this has been moving, right? But it's going to stop at 1 for sure. The first payment is deferred for 6 months. So let's say you apply for a PPP and you close and, your money gets dispersed in the next 30 days. Your first payment, is not for the next 6 months, which would be almost the end of the year. So it's a 2-year loan. There's no collateral requirements, no personal guarantees, and no borrower or lender fees payable to SBA. So this is going to go through June 30th as of today. Again, because COVID is a moving target, we don't know what's happening. This might be extended as well. Next. Okay, so we don't like to use the term grant. We like to use the term loan forgiveness. So it'll be fully forgiven when at least 75 of the proceeds are used for payroll. And it's based on the employer maintaining or quickly rehiring employees and maintaining salary levels. So if you've already, you know, laid folks off and they're collecting unemployment, this is your chance to bring them back. If these are, you know, these are folks that you definitely, you want to bring back because, you know, they're folks that are honest, they're reliable, they're part of your team. And so this is, you know, this is basically to keep them off unemployment. And so we already spoke about, you know, eligibility. Next. Okay, so this is what happens with the loan forgiveness, right? So this is where you need to be really diligent, you know, and be your own, you know, have everything, all your documentation in place, because you want to make sure that 75% of loan that's used for payroll, that you can justify that later. So, you know, so when it's time to reconcile with your lender, that you can say, nope, here are my books. You know, I've kept these folks on, you know, on payroll, and this is what I have. And so that's, you know, so that's all you're definitely going to need to show. So just make sure that your accounting system is in place. You know, whoever does your payroll, whether you outsource it to ADP or you do it in-house, that you're really able to prove that, you know, again, because you don't want a surprise later and then, you know, have to pay that money back. So one of the things that they did, because first this was kind of like for full-time employees only. So one of the things that they did is they're using now, so they're calculating the maximum PPP loan amount for different types of businesses using alternative criteria. So again, because, you know, agriculture was not part of the mix in the beginning, so now they're providing borrowers with the option of using any consecutive, so you can use any consecutive 12-week period between May 1st of 2019 and September 15th of 2019 to determine the loan amount, or at least within a 4.5 month loan period. So that's how they're going to determine more or less. And yes, they could be part-time employees as well. Next.
Actually, why don't I just ask this question now? It's probably
Sure.
in the chat, though I can't see the chat at the moment. How do farms handle this since they have seasonal employees?
So that's where they would, okay, so I'm sure so for farms that have not done their 2019 taxes, you can use your 2018 taxes. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure, you know, you're going to have either a P&L statement or receivables or whatever your expenses are, you know, whatever you can provide to the lender to let them see your seasonal employees. You know, do you hire, you know, are they 4 months, 4.5 months? Are they six months? So that's what they're going to look at. You know, they're going to look at a 4.5 month loan period of, you know, to be able to kind of make the final determination on how much you're going to be eligible for.
Got it. Okay.
Just like they're going to do it with farmers, they're going to do it with like landscapers or any type of like, you know, seasonal, like these outdoor summer businesses, you know, ice cream, whatever the case may be.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so what counts as payroll costs? Salary, wages, commissions or tips, employee benefits, right? Because that's all rolled in together. Vacation, parental, family, medical, or sick leave, right? Because when you think about, I pay this person X amount an hour, you as the small business owner, as the employer, you're also calculating all this within, you know, that hourly wage. And so again, so this all counts as payroll costs, allowance for separation or dismissal, payments required for the provision of group health care, payment of any retirement benefit. So, you know, for example, they're going to ask you, how many employees do you have? How much do you pay for, you know, for payroll? And, you know, and then that's how they're going to kind of come up with the formula. And for independent contractors, again, wages, commissions, income or net earnings from self-employment. So we have like even, for example, real estate agents that are, kind of self-employed, right? They work on commission. And usually with a real estate agent, you know, their commissions don't kick in until 30, sometimes 45 days later after the sale. So, yeah, so that's definitely something that they're looking at as well. They're just trying to make, you know, just about every single business person out there eligible for these programs. So this is as of this afternoon. So this is hot off the presses, also, you know, today, as of 1 o'clock today in PPP. Again, remember the floodgates opened yesterday at 10:30 in the morning. The number of approved loans, 475,000. In volume of approved loans, 52 billion, with over 5,100 lenders participating. And this is national numbers, okay? So lenders over that have approved over $10 billion, 331,000. So, you know, you can read these numbers, but nevertheless, lenders between 10 billion to 50 billion, number of approved loans, you know, nearly 84,000. So, so yeah, so that's, you know, as fast as the floodgates open are as fast as these lenders are trying to get these applications in the system. Next. So this is what we call fintech, and this is kind of like, you know, one of those new words now that's out there. It's what it is a financial technology, you know, firm. So these are industries that can not only, you know, you can submit, you know, you can pay your vendors through. You can also sometimes do your payroll through. So we have these approved, what we call PPP, approved fintech lenders that can process your PPP. So if you're having issues, you know, with your bank or, you know, they're just at capacity, you know what? Go through PayPal, try something new, try QuickBooks, try Square, On Deck. They've all been certified to be able to process PPPs. I went into, I think it was Cabbage. And so some have, you know, are aligned, you know, some are working independently, some are working alongside the banks. I went into, I think, the one called Cabbage today because I wanted to see what it looked like. You know, you kind of have to register and, you know, to put the application through, but it just looked like really easy to use. And so, so yeah, so for the person that asked earlier on, you know, what bank do they go to, you know, if you really don't want to mess with it and you want to do it yourself, you can do it, you know, from the comfort of your own home. If you have your financial documents, you know, your taxes, whether from 2018, 2019, your P&L statements, you can do that. You can definitely do this yourself. Okay. And so we have a lot more information on our website, so please visit it. Because again, if none of these loans you think work for you, we have other SBA loans that may work better for you. So that's a completely different process. It's through a lender, but again, the interest rate may be comparable, the term may be comparable. It just may have a different name, but it might get funded quicker. You know, who knows, the turnaround. So that is the end of my PowerPoint. Again, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to take them now. If you want to, Jeff or Mackenzie, if you want to share my my email with the folks, if they want to email or call me tomorrow, that's totally fine as well.
Ask if you had a phone number to share, so we'll make sure we share that with the presentation and your contact information. But there was a few more questions in the chat.
Sure.
I think you kind of already touched on this, but one asked, how does payroll work for a sole proprietor who doesn't have payroll? So I don't know if that relates. Okay,
so that's a 1099, I assume? Yeah. That's what they call like an independent contractor?
Mm-hmm.
So remember, use your 1099. That's what's going to give you the numbers. That's what they're going to determine more or less what, you know, what the loan size will be.
Okay. So the next question is, PPP only available for staff that was kept on, or if you brought back staff that was previously laid off?
It's both because it's meant for you to bring them back, right?
Right.
So it's a combination of both. So just make sure you let your lender know, when you're when you're filling out the form, because you want to count those employees.
Okay.
And they're not asking. So one of the things that's interesting is that it's not going to ask you on the application for the names or the social security numbers of the employees. It's just basically a number. So how they're going to reconcile that later with the Department of Labor, I don't know. But just make sure that, that it all kind of matches up. If somebody, if somebody has already, left, whatever, filed unemployment, and that's not somebody that you're planning to bring back, but nevertheless, you're going to fill that position because it's, necessary. And you definitely need to include that number, because if not, you're going to be missing, that cash later for payroll.
Okay.
What if these employees are not citizens, if they are maybe seasonal employees that are not U.S. citizens on the farm operation?
I believe that that's okay, because I believe they work with EIN numbers. I know they have some type of numbers that they use, the employees themselves. And if you put them on your payroll, and you're paying taxes on them, then that's totally fine. Because they might be, they might have some kind of, work permit or something, and not specifically a social. But the application does not ask for socials of the employees.
Okay. There was a question about, can you apply for PPP2 if you have already submitted an application at the bank?
No, because if you've already applied for PPP, it doesn't matter if if it's the first round or the second round. If someone, if a lender were to go to put in another application, even let's say you go to a different bank, right, to apply, once it gets in the system, you're still using the same EIN number. So the system will only take one at a time. You know what I mean? So if there's already an application created for you in the system, it's not going to allow for a second one.
Okay. I think we missed one question too way back. Somebody asked, if you file online, do all the partners have to e-sign?
It doesn't really require an e-signature. It's just kind of like a submit, just kind of fill in the blanks, but nowhere does it say e-sign, just oh, I certify that all the information that I put here is accurate. But I believe that if it's a PPP for the closing of the, if you have a partner for the closing, I believe that there's a way that they can e-sign.
Okay.
Can you provide some clarification for anyone who might be applying to both EIDL and PPP? What are the things they should know about the overlap between those two programs?
So there's not so much of an overlap, because remember, PPP is very strict on what you're using the proceeds for. You're using it for payroll, and you're using it for mortgage, rent, or utilities. Let's say you're EIDL, you decide that that's what you're going to use to pay your inventory, right? And other things that you had pending, that was there. So it all depends on you, on how much debt you want to incur, right? And so just think about how much debt you want to incur, because even though, the payments can be deferred, I believe for the EIDL, you can defer an EIDL for 4 years, which is amazing. And remember, that's the one with the 30-year term. But it depends on how much, debt you want to take upon, because the reality is, we're in such an unprecedented time that we don't know exactly how our businesses are going to bounce back, and from what we hear, from the Department of Health or whatever, there might be a second wave later this year. So again, if we close shop again, and we have a loss of income, again, the programs, they'll restart themselves, right? And they'll, the dates in terms of maturity and all that will change. So just think about, yourself and how much debt you want to incur. That's why I said earlier, definitely talk to one of our resource partners.
Any other questions? Let's see.
So I had a question, but I can't figure out how to type it in.
We'll go ahead and ask it.
On the PPP, they're using the full-time equivalent to get the payroll. We have 10 people on payroll, but it comes out to 1.25 FTEs.
Because they're part-time, you
Okay.
mean?
Yeah, they're intermittent.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Is that true or
Your
not?
question is that it's going to come up to, I guess, I don't think, so the PPP goes up to $10 million.
Yeah, we're not there.
Right. So I guess I didn't really understand the question.
Okay, we have 10 people on payroll.
Right.
The people that do payroll, they have 10 people. But they only work intermittent and part-time. And so when you convert that to a full-time equivalent, an FTE, it comes out to 1.25.
Okay, so it's going to be based on the taxes that you paid, in wages, right? And so
Right.
for the folks that were intermittent, there was a time where they were not full-time.
Absolutely.
So when you do the math, it might not be as high as you think it is, right?
So they use full-time equivalents to get the amount you're eligible for.
So just look at, they're definitely going to look at, the wages, on the taxes. So that's what they're going to look for, not so much their status of intermittent, full-time, part-time, but, more or less the total number. And then, as well as, the total number of employees, as well as the sum. But honestly, the lender can explain that better to you, William. So if you want to give your lender a call, or definitely take a look at our website, take a look at the PPP. There's a lot of really good Q&A there.
Okay.
That they, every day there's like different questions, and folks are just, because everybody's in a completely different situation.
Marina, somebody on the call applied really early before she knew that farms were not eligible, before the advance checkbox existed on EIDL. And so where should she go? But now she should be applying. She's a farm business. And so is there a way for her to check to see on the status of her application?
Yeah, did she get like a confirmation with a loan number when she applied?
What would she do with that if she has that? Or
oh, definitely, she's got to call that 1-800 number.
the one
and
that you
check on
put
the
up
status.
earlier?
Yeah, the 1-800-659-2955.
All right, let's put that in the chat.
Yeah, definitely take that loan number and take that number, and they're open until 9 p.m. So you can even call tonight.
What is it?
I think they're
1-800?
open from
Say it again.
659
Yeah.
2955.
29. Okay, and then another clarification. EIDL is completely based on number of payroll employees, question mark. No other size of business, income, expenses, etc. $1,000 per payroll employee, question mark?
No, that's for the advance, that $10,000 advance.
Mm-hmm.
But EIDL is the use of the proceeds are for the business. The one that's the advance on EIDL is $1,000 per payroll employee with a maximum of 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So a maximum of like 10 employees. Even if you have 50 employees, your advance would only be 10.
Mm-hmm. Charlotte, do you want to unmute if you are still having questions on that? You're okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. All right.
And for Nancy, the one that wanted to check on the status of the application,
Yeah.
if because you were an early applicant, for the $10,000, I suggest you fill out a new application and check off that box. So do both simultaneously. Fill out a new one and just check off, I want that $10,000 advance. And then also check on the status of what you had sent previously.
After all, you said that if somebody is offered a loan, you can also decline it. So if through some miracle,
absolutely. If in the end, either, you find other means, or you find that the PPP is a better option for you, absolutely. Absolutely, you can decline it, no prepayment penalty, no one's gonna get mad at you. It's fine.
okay. All right.
Somebody else will use that.
Quick last question. Is that phone number one folks can call to reach a resource partner, that 1-800 number?
No, that's for the disaster customer service number. That's to check on the status of your loan. The resource partner numbers is, so they're all different, right? So you can do the WBDC, you can do ctsbdc.org, you can do score.org, and type in, your zip code, and it'll connect you with a mentor in your area. So Connecticut Women Business Development Council, they have they have 3 offices, but they're doing, it doesn't matter where their location is, but either it's normally Stamford, New London, and Naugatuck Valley, because they're doing everything virtually. The Connecticut Small Business Development Center, SCORE mentors as well. We have 6 chapters, and there's about 300 counselors in the state. Okay.
Okay.
Actually, I just want to say that ctsbdc, I believe, is .com. Sorry, it's been a long day. But it's in the presentation. And if you go on to our homepage, and it'll just type in your zip code, and it'll tell you all, and it'll actually, give you kind of like a little map with what partners are in your area. Yes, Jeff, that's accurate. And that is for the EIDL.
Right. Yeah. Well, this has been amazing. I hope folks.
Thank you so much.
No, I really appreciate you doing this. We've never met before.
No, I mean, we're here to help. I mean, right now we're in the hot seat, right? Because, everything got thrown at us, it's all at once, right? They shut down the state, and it's like, okay, well, now this is what the shift, the focus is going to be. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's a work in progress, because there was no kind of preparation, right, beforehand. So, everybody close your doors, go home, quarantine, and what happens to your business? What happens to your kids' school? So we're all in this together. When I say it's a team effort. And the same thing with the EIDL portal, right? They didn't have the capacity in terms of manpower or staffing in order to put through these loans. So they're doing a lot of hiring. If there's anybody out there that's looking to be a virtual loan processor, they're hiring. Go on to usajobs.gov. I'm serious.
Interesting.
So they're hiring. So
I think we'll put the PowerPoint and the recording of this up on our UConn Extension COVID webpage. We'll also share it out through our various listservs. By the way, I am just reminded Carrot Project was offering some one-on-one TA also for PPP that I shared earlier on my Solid Ground listserv. So feel free to reach out to me if you don't know about that and want to know more. But Marima, thank you so much. Thank you also to the commissioner for
Absolutely.
joining us. You've been a great champion for agriculture tonight, so thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and have a wonderful evening, and good luck with your, those loan applications.
Thank
Get them
you.
in quick.
Yeah.
Good
All right.
night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.